Hello. For assignment 3, I chose Google Sheets as my Google Drive medium. I chose Google Sheets because Google Sheets is a great tool for a student intervention sheet, which is what I made here. A student intervention sheet would be used as a way for me to track failing or high-risk students from quarter to quarter. I could track my parent contact, interventions that were put in place for the student, what has not worked and why, and other classes that the student is failing. I also think this sheet would become an even better tool if other members of my grade level team also used it. We could share differentiated interventions that work from student to student. We could keep each other informed of parent contacts as well. For example, if my student here, Will, was failing 4 classes, and I called home to develop a plan for Will, I could inform the parents of all the failing classes. This way, other teachers would not have to waste time making the same phone call as I did. Also, at my school, the admin want to know when students are failing and why. An intervention sheet like this would make it easier for me to justify failing grades and show what I have done to make sure that every student is successful. There were several features that I thought were handy in Google Sheets that I did not know about before I started this assignment. One of those features is the freeze feature. I like the freeze feature because I can freeze columns and rows that I do not want shifted on a page as I move up and down or from side to side. For example, my row of columns, like the title column, so like up here, these are my titles. I don't really want this to disappear just because I scroll up. So I froze it in place, so no matter where I scroll, I'm always going to be able to see student's last name, student's first name, that information. I also wanted to freeze the students' names. So I froze this column and this column. And you can see it's been frozen based on this line right here. To freeze, well, I froze it because if I'm moving from side to side and I want to look at class failing, if I move from side to side, these 2 columns would typically disappear. If I freeze them, which is what I did, no matter how much I scrolled this way, I'm always going to be able to see those 2 columns. They don't disappear. To freeze, I basically highlighted, went to view, freeze, and I could freeze 2 columns like that. Okay, I could also use the fill handle to auto-populate cells. For example, over here, I have subject area. So why write ELA over and over when I could just auto-populate it into the subject column? So for example, I could just write ELA, and this little box right here pops up, and I could blank all that area, and then ELA would pop up everywhere. Okay, and the protect a sheet column slash row feature is great when a sheet has multiple users. So if I were to collaborate with other teachers in my 7th grade team, then this feature, the protect feature, would be very handy. If multiple teachers are working in this intervention sheet, someone might edit an area by mistake. I could protect my rows and titles by using the protect feature, which is actually located up here. I did protect my first row because I don't want anybody to be able to change it but me. And so I would go to data and I would go down to protect. It would ask me, do I want to protect a range or a sheet? I did range, but yeah, that was the thing. I like the idea of inserting hyperlinks to a text as well to enter like BIS plan. So if I was going to put something in for Jennifer Peterson's plan, but she already had like a BIS plan, or she had a SIT plan or any other plan, I could insert her doc there by, simply linking it. That's really handy. And Lastly, the sort the sheet from A to Z and vice versa feature would be helpful when trying to gather all subject area data in one cluster. For example, every Will Francis will clump together in alphabetical order. So, for example, if a science teacher posts about Will Francis and I wrote a column about Will Francis, if I were to put them in alphabetical order, both Will Francises would be together and I could see everything that anybody's written about that one student. And that's really handy. And the last thing I really liked about, like having the student intervention plan in place, with like the last names, first names, parent contact information, um, how many times I've contacted parents, the plan that we've come up with, other failing classes, is that I can also make sheets to do this from quarter to quarter. So like I have first quarter down here in green, quarter 2 in red, quarter 3 in blue, and quarter 4 in purple. And so I really, really enjoyed working with Google Sheets, and I learned a lot specifically in this area that I could apply in my actual classroom at my school in collaborating with my 7th grade team. Thank you.